Hello and welcome to a new video. Today, as it is summer and it is like sizzling hot, I thought I'd bring to you my Sizzling spicy books. Now I am giving full credit for the name of that to Liv, because she come up with this. But with me being a lot more into contemporary romance and just romance in general, this is like kind of perfect timing because I have read quite a lot recently. So I thought I would just bring you some of my favourites and ones that I would recommend. There are some that are less spicy than others, but some of them are very, very, very spicy. So we're just gonna dive straight in with these ones are spicy, and it's basically everything Ali Hazelwood has written to date. So obviously we have The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. Now this has spice, but it's not throughout the book, but there is spice, and this is very good. If you're new to my channel, just be prepared to hear about this book a lot, because this is like my favourite book ever, and since November 2021 I've read this book to date 5 times because it's my favourite book ever. And yeah, whilst we're talking about Ali Hazelwood, let's talk about Love on the Brain, which is actually coming out about a week after you're going to be seeing this video. Comes out on the 23rd of August, and I'm so excited for everyone to read it. There is a little bit more throughout, not much, but this is also enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers. I love this. There's also a bit of pining, which we love that. But I'm really excited for everyone to read this and meet Bea and Levi, because I absolutely love this book so much. And I'm really excited to reread it, which I will be doing before it comes out. I might have already reread it by the time this goes up, because I'm doing a bit of filming in advance, look at me. But I highly recommend this. This is absolutely incredible. So there's the second Ali Hazelwood, and then there's more Ali Hazelwood. So if you've not been in like the book community much, you might not know this, but Ali Hazelwood has released 3 novellas. They are going to be released in print, in a bind up, but that's not till January, but you can get these on audiobook and ebook. So first up we have Under One Roof. This is the "and they were roommates" trope, along with a little bit of rivals to lovers, which, yes, this is actually my favourite of the 3 novellas. I absolutely love this. You will fall in love with Liam. There is like no question of that. I absolutely adore Liam. And it's the best of the 3 novellas, in my opinion, and a lot of others. And then we have Stuck With You, which is an enemies to lovers with a bit of pining. Ali Hazelwood has a type, and I'm here for the type that she writes, because this is also amazing. This is actually, I mean, I say this is my least favourite of the 3 novellas. But the only reason it's my least favourite is because I very petty, like in a very petty act of defiance, when I was putting through Core Pile, characters got a 9 instead of a 10 because one of the characters does make a comment about Star Wars prequels not being good. I'm not okay with that. So that was a strike. But it was still almost a complete high 5-star. And I really enjoyed this. And then we have Below Zero, which, again, enemies to lovers. And I love this. I don't want to say more than that, because if I say what the other trope is, it might spoil it a bit, so I'm not going to say that one. But this was not what I was expecting going into it, and oh my god, it was so good. This I wouldn't say is like sizzling in the sense of like hot, because it's set in very cold Norway. But it's spicy and it's good, and I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay, now I've spent almost 5 minutes talking about Ali Hazelwood, let's move on to some other books by different authors. Okay, so the next two I'm going to show you, they're probably the least spiciest. Like, they're not as... They're spicy, but not super spicy. There's a bit of steam, but they're not as... I wouldn't really class this as smart. It's spice. So we have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is an enemies to lovers, and also false proximity, because these two hate each other, and they're forced to basically go on her sister and his brother's honeymoon because everyone else at the wedding party gets ill with food poisoning. So they're the only two that don't eat the thing that makes everyone ill, so they have to go on the honeymoon and pretend that they're a married couple. They have to share a hotel room, they have to do coupley things, and it is glorious. I loved this so much. It was so good. But yeah, it wasn't, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't like full-on smut, but it was steamy, and I really enjoyed it. So if you're not into full-on smut, like describing every single thing, you would like this, because it's not as full-on as all of that. And then the other one that isn't like full-on graphic descriptive smut is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. I really enjoyed this. This is gonna make you just want to go on holiday. It is, again, it's fake dating, which we love, and they kind of hate each other a little bit. So it's a bit of like rivals to lovers. I'm not saying enemies, because they're just a bit of rivalry. So rivals to lovers, a bit of pining, false proximity, and there was only one bed, and I just really enjoyed this. It was fun, it made me giggle a few times, and I just fell in love with Aaron instantly. So yeah. Okay, now we're going to get into the bit more spicy stuff. So we have It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. This is sort of like, it's not a full-on hate to love, it's not an enemies to lovers, but they dislike each other when they first meet, and then things change. This is smutty and great. I was not expecting to love this as much as I did, but this was absolutely incredible. We have a very high maintenance girl who's basically, it had, if you've seen the teen movie Wild Child with Emma Roberts, it's essentially that storyline. The girl, I mean, she's an adult, not a teenager, so she doesn't get sent to a boarding school in England, but she basically gets cut off after she does something. She gets cut off by her rich parents and is forced to go and stay in this little seaside town and basically think about what she's done, stay on the down low for a bit, so it sort of like blows over with her reputation. And while she's there, she meets fisherman Brendan. We all need a Brendan in our lives, just saying. I need a Brendan in my life. And Brendan thinks she is very stuck up, and you see their relationship grow. And honestly, I absolutely love this book, and the smut is first class. Next we have Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. This has fan fiction vibes. So this is literally, so not only does it have fan fiction vibes because it is about so this girl writes fan fiction, and it's for a TV show that has been adapted from some books, and she writes fan fiction from the books and the TV show, and then she gets asked on a date because of reasons, I'm not going to go into why, but she gets asked on a date by him, who is a star of the show. But there is something that they don't know about each other, and it just escalates, and I really enjoyed this. I don't know what else I can say about it without spoiling, but basically I feel like I have actually read a fan fiction similar to this before, like an alternative universe fan fiction, and it just made my heart so happy reading it because it has like fan fiction terms in it, and at the end of each chapter there are like little scripts and things. So some are like scripts that he has had. I'm trying to find another one. Some is like from the server that she is on, server conversations. And then there's one in particular I'm trying to find. And then there are pages like this which are set out like AO3 is, with the like warnings and tags, and then the title, notes, and then the story starts, and you get like glimpses of their fan fictions. And I just really enjoyed this. It made my heart so happy, and I'm really excited to read the sequel to this, which follows his best friend, who was my favourite character in this book, and I loved him. Next up is probably the spiciest of the contemporaries, and that is The Roommate by Rosie Danan. So this is And They Were Roommates trope, which is my favourite, and it's also obviously with that comes the false proximity, but there was a turning that this took that I was not expecting, and it was the best twist I think I've ever read in a contemporary, because you just don't see it coming, and it was absolutely amazing. The smut in this was incredible because of that twist, and I'm really excited to read the sequel to this as well, because it follows one of the main characters' friends from this, and I do think it's going to link quite well with this, and I'm just hoping the smut is just as good in that one. Okay, now all of those were contemporaries, so I thought I would give you a few fantasies, because I do also read fantasy romance. So I'm going to give you 3. These are all first in a series, but first up there is Rhapsodic by Laura Thalassa. There isn't a huge amount of smut in this, but this is very much fantasy romance. The main character is a siren, and there is the bargainer, who I love. And this, I can't tell you the tropes without, because I don't want to risk spoiling anything, but there are some tropes, basic romance tropes in this, which I really enjoyed, and just the journey getting to that point. This is the first in a series, and it is fairly chunky. It's almost 400 pages, and that's just the first book. But I highly recommend this if you want some fantasy romance, because it was good. Next up, now this series, the first book doesn't have a huge amount of smut. It's just a bit of steam, a little tiny bit of spice. If it was if you was buying a meal, you know, they have the little chilies, this would be a 1 out of 3 for spice. But the later books are a lot more than that, and it is the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. The sequels are better. I loved the first book, but the sequels are better. And I've also read the first book in the prequel series, which is also incredible. But I highly recommend this. And the actual, if you even take away like the romance side of it, the fantasy side is amazing. I know a lot of people don't like the main character. I do. I feel like she is exactly how I would be if I was in this situation, with asking all the questions all of the time, because I'd want to know what the hell's going on, and I'd be like, can you give me some answers please? And I'd be constantly like, I've just thought of another question. So I know a lot of people don't like the main character mainly for that reason, which is hilarious, because that's exactly how I would be if I was in this situation. But I personally love the characters, I love the world building, I love the magic, I love the romance so much. Can't even tell you how much I love the romance in this, but I highly recommend this series. And if I could go into spoilers right now, I could talk about this for ages. And then finally, this one might be the spiciest thing I've read, and I wasn't actually expecting to like this as much as I did, because it's got a certain kink in it that I am not a massive fan of. Like, I don't like reading things with this kink, but apparently now I do. That's Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. This is so this is the first in the Wicked Villains series, which is essentially Disney for adults. So the first one is Jasmine and Jafar. So it's like the villains and the good guys have things happen between them. So Jasmine and Jafar, and I will say this has the Daddy King, which is something I don't like reading, but I was really intrigued by this book, so I read it, and I didn't actually hate reading it in this, which I don't understand how I ended up getting through this loving that, but it worked for this story. But this is smutty. This is amazing, and I will be, or possibly have already, read the entire series by the point you'll see in this video, because there will be a vlog coming in September for that. But I highly recommend this, but just be prepared, it might ruin Aladdin for you. I was never the biggest fan of the animated movie when I was a kid. I quite like the live action version that came out a few years back, but I don't think I can watch Aladdin now because of Jafar. I mean, I like Jafar in the live action, not his character but him, kind of his character. I like my morally grey. He's not even morally grey. I'm just trying to make myself feel better. But anyway, I'm rambling. Just give it a go and see, because I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, and I'm so incredibly excited to read the rest of the series. So desperate measures. Okay, so I have babbled about these books for a while now. I have read others, but these are like the ones that are like my go-to. Obviously there is also the like Sarah J Maas books, which I always recommend. So I thought I would just not recommend it, but let's give an honourable mention to the ACOTAR series, in particular the later books, not the first book, because there's a lot of smut in those and I absolutely love it. And also Crescent City series. Not so much Throne of Glass, because that is definitely more on the YA side than the adult side, but it's not YA. It's not YA. But anyway. Anyway, if you have any other recommendations for books similar to these that you think I might like, please let me know, because I am always willing to read more romance, especially if it has smut in it, because right now I am starting to run out of the books I have, so I am reading a hell of a lot of fan fiction, which I can't put on Goodreads as towards my reading goal for the year. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. I forgot to say, but I do actually have the sequel to It Happened One Summer, so I will be reading that hopefully soonish. It's there. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.